morning everybody, my name is Roger David and welcome to my Mamshed. Good morning everybody, welcome back to my Mamshed. Here I am doing a little bit of work on my my nice new Record Power DML320. The object of today's video is a beginner's guide to this particular lathe. I emphasize beginner's guide because all you ardent, seasoned, professional wood turners should now go and make a cup of tea, and quite possibly a couple of pieces of toast and an episode of Coronation Street, because we are beginners and I will be talking to beginners. Okay, fellow beginners, now we're on our own. This is a lathe. Quite obvious, I know, but we must start where we begin. And that's what happens when you don't prepare properly. Right. The makeup of the lathe. All lathes are made up on the same sort of principle. Some are a little bit different than others. This one is quite straightforward in my opinion. So first of all, we have that light. Oh, by the way, this light doesn't come with the lathe, but this is from Record as well, and it's absolutely amazing, and it only costs £30. So I shall put that out of the way for a minute. Okay, so here we have the tailstock. Okay, here we have the headstock. This here is the tool rest, and this here is what is commonly known as the banjo. Okay, and that's for resting our tools on when we're actually doing our turning. Now then, the operation of these is on a cam system. So if I demonstrate on the front here, it doesn't wind up like this one does. This one winds up like that. Okay, but these don't wind up. They just drop to one side, is locked in the center, is clear. Any side is locked in the center, is clear. So the same thing happens with this at the back of here, which you can't see my hand there. That moves back and forth there like that. Okay, if you want that to move really nice, I found a little squirt in the morning of WD-40 onto the lathe bed, which is referred to as bedways for whatever reason that may be, but still very interesting. Okay, so there we have tailstock, headstock, tool rest. Down here we've got the motor, which is nice and tidy underneath there. We got the motor adjustment here for changing the belts, which I shall demonstrate a little later on. And then we got the the motor secure bolt fitted there as well. Okay, and on the back here we got a little tool rest, which I'll pull him out in a minute, as we shall have a look and see exactly how it's made up. Right, I think we'll first of all concentrate on the most straightforward part, which is the tailstock. Now the tailstock just consists of obviously the main body. You've got the handle here, and you've got the tail lock securing lever here. You slacken that off, which is the same as that, and you can turn this protrudes forward or it protrudes back. Now in the tailstock we have, I shall have to pull this out a little bit now. Brakes off, proves they work. Brakes off, pull forward a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to use my little project to get this. This here is a rotary centre. Okay, I like to call it a live end. A lot of people call them live ends because they actually rotate on the end there. Okay, with the piece. And this part, just to jump over to here, this is called the drive centre. Okay, which is on the main part of the lathe. So the drive end, the live centre pops into there, and as you may remember if you see my first video, a little bit of coaxing and a lump of wood. Okay, and this then moves back and forth. Now the idea of this is the movement going back and forth is not to put pressure onto the workpiece, in so much as this lines it up and engages with the workpiece. Then you lock it off. Okay, then you put the pressure on the workpiece by winding this down, because this part then protrudes and makes the workpiece secure. And once you've got it in position, you then just lock it down with that, and that's it, solid. Okay, so that's quite straightforward. We've got no issues with that. Right, this tool rest, this is very, very straightforward. It moves backwards and forwards. This goes round and round and up and down, so it gives you plenty of opportunity for positioning. You can buy these banjos in different sizes, from 4" up to about 2 feet. The centres on this, the maximum centre on this particular lathe is 20 inches. So you know, 8 inches is about the middle, so that's usually about fine. Does enough for everybody. But all those bits are available. Right, now we come to the headstock, and I'm going to pull the machine out a bit further for us to have a good look at that. There you are, see, the beauty of portable lathe. Now, whilst I'm on that point with the mounting of this lathe, you can buy a stand, which is a rigid stand that fixes it more or less in a permanent position. But I choose, because I've got a small workshop, I choose to put it on this cabinet, and as you can see, the facility of this is immense. I can put it in the middle of the room if I got long pieces or short pieces. So especially if on this machine you can have an extension bed of another 4 foot, or which will make the centres 48 inches. So that fits on the end of here. So I then pull it out into the middle of my workshop if I want to do long table legs. Right, okay. So I'm going to look now at the headstock, and there's lots of things in here. I'm sure you understand this is where all the drive for the whole unit is. So again, I shall pop this out, and you can see that this has got teeth on it, and it's got a centre. And that is the thing that actually holds your workpiece in this position. Okay, so we pop that back in there just for a minute. We'll tap with that. Now, something you might want to do if you're buying a new lathe, if I can just get this out of the way. If you're buying a new lathe, it shouldn't be a problem. But if you're buying a second-hand lathe, you want to make sure that it's right. Okay, and slide the tailstock up to this. If you can come in with a camera on that, and you can see the precision of this machine is absolutely spot on with regard to centres. Now, if you're buying a second-hand lathe and you can't do that, because it's been damaged or strained, then you know then you want to be very careful, because it can be sorted, but this needs a lot of machining. Okay, so here we are now with the headstock. This is the drive spindle that comes off the motor, and there are 3 cogs in here, or 6 in actual fact, because you've got 3 at the top and 3 at the bottom. but these are for altering the speed. Now the speed on this machine is variable, and I'm going to show you now what cog we're on at the moment, which is in the center. If this will come on, yes. Okay, so if you can see on the digital printout, that is now running at 495, and if I take it up to its full speed there, that's 1680. Now that is on the particular cog that's on at the moment. I'm going to show you now how to change the speed, because there are 3 sets of speed, and the variable speed control works on each section separately. So if you go on the lower speed, it'll work between, I think it's 220 and something else. I'll have a look now and I'll check. First of all, switch the machine off, unplug it if you want to, for safety. We now open up the cog cover, the headstock cover. So you won't be doing this every day, but when you do it, you know how to do it. And then you open up the, if the camera comes around here, you can see the motor cogs cover, which comes off here like that. Now you'll see, if you look in there, you'll see that there's 3 cogs, and our belt is now on the center cog. So if I want to change the speed, let's take a guess. Let's say I want it lower. Let's see if we're right. Probably not. Okay. Now we release the motor secure, and we drop, pull the motor up on this lever here. So we'll actually lift in the motor and lift in the cog. If you look in there, you'll see the cog is lifting up. Put the secure on there, that's fine. So all I need to do is to slip off this belt here and put it on the bottom one, the opposite one. And I think it's best to put it onto the bottom one first. You can feel in here, it's quite straightforward. And then put it onto the top one, making sure that there's little teeth on this belt, and they got to slot into these little slots in there. Okay, so now we're going to drop the motor down, running a little bit. No need to push it or anything. The weight of the motor will actually control the actual position of the belt and the tension on the belt. Okay, so if I pull this around a little bit now, and switch on again. Right, you'll see now that we are running actually on a higher speed. We're now starting from 1195, and this goes up to an amazing 4095. That's very fast for a lathe, I can tell you. Okay, so we put that back down, switch the machine off. Same procedure, slacken the secure nut off, pick the motor up, put the secure nut back on, and then alter the belt. Onto the top one, and onto the corresponding bottom one, making sure it's all there. Slacken off, let the motor drop, tighten back up again. Now I notice now, if you can look at this now, it's not quite there. Okay, you see that belt, so it's always worth to check. You see the belt is just off the cog just a little bit. So it's simple enough, slacken off again, pull the motor up, tighten this again, and then we'll put this belt on properly, because it's not quite on there. There we are. That's simple. drop it back down again, secure this up, running really nice. Let's see what speed we get with that. There you go. And that goes down to, I think it's 220. There we are, been here before. Goes down to 220. In the book it says 250, so it's better than what it says in the book. And then on that belt it'll go up to 745. So that gives you a full range between 220 and 4,850 maybe. Right, I'm going to put this back now to where it was, because that's the average centre cog is usually suitable for most work that I do, and I just think for most work any will do. You don't need to drop this down if you're going to be doing a really bit of rough work. They do suggest that if you were turning a piece of wood, like an old tree trunk or something, that you start off at a very slow speed, otherwise it gets a bit dangerous with all these big chunks jumping about the place. Okay, so that's back on there. Just give it a quick twirl, make sure she's okay on there. That's up tight, that's fine. So I can now put my plate back together. Excuse my back a minute, thank you. You will notice that I'm using these little T-hex spanners, as the Americans would say, Allen screws we call them. But these very, very cheap to buy. You buy a set of these, fits most of these, and it's so much easier than the typical Allen key that is always supplied when you're fiddling about with this and you're changing for that and then messing about. So this is a good investment. Okay. Now I'm not going to do this back up because I've got something else to show you in there. Okay. And from this point it'll be good to do it. Right. This is supplied standard with the lathe. Also, we have a faceplate which is supplied standard with the lathe. Now, I'd like to point out at this juncture that as this is a reversing lathe, there's a very small grub screw in there that fixes onto the shoulder of the drive spindle. That's very important because whilst normal use of this lathe, the piece is working anti-clockwise, so it tends to tighten this up. That's fine. But when it's in reverse and it's going that way, it will slacken off like that and probably come off completely. So you must put the little grub screw in there and fix it really snug. Okay. Now this is a faceplate, and this is used for making bowls, making platters, anything that you can fix this onto. And I'm going to show you in a moment exactly what we're going to use when I show you the indexing feature. But that's for doing bowls, platters, etc. As I said, this is a centre, and you will hear people referring to wood turning on centres, and that's what it means. It's wood turning just using the centres. So if you were doing some spindle work or anything that's got a bit of length on it, and you were turning it like this, it can fix on there, it can fix on there, and it's fine. Not a problem with that. You can finish the piece off. If you want to do bowls or platters or mugs or boxes, then you can use this on this end here. Okay, so really speaking, you can do all the things you want to do with this lathe as it is supplied. Now what it's not supplied with, okay, now then the only thing that you don't get when you buy this particular lathe, and I suppose with any other lathe, is a chuck. And this is a typical chuck. Record Power, obviously a very good one. It's not absolutely essential that you buy a chuck, but if you want to progress into different type of bowl shapes where you need the jaws, you need to put recesses and tenons, which is something that I'll cover in my next video, then you need to get one of these, which is quite interesting, but I need to do probably a separate review on that. So I shall pop that back in the box. If you are rushing out to buy a lathe, this is the best thing to buy, is this little pack here. You can see the price on there is £129.99. Now we're going to talk about indexing, and this, as it happens, is nothing to do with the machine in its normal activity of turning things. In actual fact, I strongly recommend that you switch it off and unplug it, because there's a part on here that if it accidentally comes on, then you completely wreck your lathe. It's as simple as that. Right, so we open the cover, and inside here you see there's a wheel with all numbers on it and little location holes. Now those are equal distances around the circumference of the piece that you're making. You may be making a bowl, you may be making a platter, you may be making a mug with certain markings on, where you want equal distances for marking up patterns. Okay, now to hold on to a point, there's a little pin here which I'm sure the camera can see. I'll turn the pin so that it actually locates actually in a hole. You see that's locked up. You understand now, if this lathe was plugged in and switched on, then it would completely wreck this wheel. Okay, so that's the index numbers. You pull it out and you can turn it to another position. Okay, now when you're finished, very important, you put it back into a safety and that, and give it a good turn, make sure it's okay. So I'm going to now show you how we use the indexing. I turn this around and drop in the plug on the floor. Right, this is our bowl, which we fix back onto our drive spindle. There, tightened down. Then there's a number of ways that we can use this. Purely for this demonstration, I'm just going to use the tool rest. What a lot of people will do is to make, a lot of people do is make a little jig to fit in here, and on the jig they can have a collet for using a drill for drilling holes into this piece, okay, as we go around, or you can just use it for marking up certain patterns. It's just down to your imagination. For the moment, just to demonstrate how the indexing works, I'm going to just use the tool rest, which I should put nice and close to the piece. Tighten it up, tighten it up. Now then, what we're looking at now, we want to put a pattern on this, and we want it to be equidistant all the way around the circumference. Okay, or you may want to use a Dremel in your jig that fits into the tool rest, a Dremel with a router bit on it that will make lines, make flutes. If you want to make flutes in a long spindle, you use this to set it up, to mark it up. So we start off by engaging the first hole. Like that. Now that's engaged the first. There's 24 holes around there, so we can mark that one there. Okay, so not thinking about distances at the moment, let's just go to the next hole and we mark there. Go to the next hole, that's 2 holes, mark there. You see, it's a lot of common sense. A lot of people say, oh, it's very difficult to go around here, and you'll see a lot of YouTube videos where they make up their own register, which is all fine and all good stuff, but you don't need to be around here looking at the numbers. Once you know the distance that you want, you just need to pull it out and click it across to the next one. It just clicks back in. There's nothing simpler than doing that. And you can be guaranteed, when you get to the other side, like when you do it by hand, you end up with a gap about that wide. You'll be guaranteed that the gap on that side will be exactly the same all the way around the piece. So then if you want to make another way then with using this, is if you want a line around the circumference, like this obviously isn't round anyway, but that gives you an idea what you can do. Okay. There's a line for the patterns there, look at that, perfect. And then you might want to do a little line that way, which you'll do separately with the burning tool or something similar. And then you can make a nice pattern around the bowl, and you know what it is. So that is the indexing system. A bit of a mystery for a lot of people, but I think, you know, we'll all have access to YouTube, but sometimes things are not explained as deeply as they should be. Now, I hope that I've covered a lot of things with a review on this lathe. I still love it to bits, so I would recommend it to anybody. It's a DML320, a Record Power DML320, and solid, sold as a cast iron. I'm not sponsored by Record, as I mentioned earlier, and I probably never will be, because I bought all the tools already. But that's everything that's on this machine I've explained to you today. So thank you for watching, and I look forward to my next video, which I'll probably be doing some pen making. So please subscribe, click the like button, and then look out for me on my future video. Thank you very much indeed.